Okay, so hi guys, I'm Kiki and today we're playing a little bit of a different game. A game that I really have been missing, and it's a very old game. It's called, I wouldn't say like very old, but it's called 5 Minute Mysteries, and it's a browser-based game. And if you don't know what it is, it's basically a very short story that's gonna take you like maybe not 5 minutes to read, but like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and you have to figure out who the culprit is, who's the murderer, who's the thief, who is the one who was responsible for the crime, if it is a crime really. And it's basically just short fictional stories. I really enjoy them. Some of them are very humorous, others are like super interesting, and even I don't know how to even explain it, but I used to play this game actually when I was a teenager, which was like a few years ago, maybe like 5 years ago. I'm not sure exactly the time frame, but I remember really enjoying like the hell out of this game. And yeah, I think we should start, so let me just start my recording. Okay, so I just made a new profile because or a new account I should say, because I actually wasn't able to log into my previous one. Which is like story of my life, basically. So let us start solving our first mystery, okay? So, the classic automobile mystery. Okay, so this is your first mystery, and as such, you will not earn any points. We're not doing it for the points, we're doing it for the intellectual, for the intellectual development. So we're kind of like Sherlock Holmes, you know, with the pipe and the... So, because this mystery was selected randomly for you, you will be able to solve it for points later on. Okay, so let's check out the statistics for this one. The average score is 4 and 39% solve rate, average time is 5 minutes, and the number of clues are 4. And it was published in 2009, so this has been going on since like the birth of my dog, who is, yeah, she was born in 2009. And that's 11 years for you, yeah. So it's written by Tom Fowler, and I actually remember this very author. I have solved a lot of his mysteries, or her mysteries. It's a moniker, so we don't know who it is. So let's just read this first excerpt here, or should we just attempt the mystery? Let's just attempt the mystery, okay? So the Midwestern States Car Club was huge, boasting over 200 members throughout a 5-state area. Gary, Ben, Gerald, Mike, and Tommy all lived in the same town and had been good friends for over 20 years. They, with their spouses, met often to talk about classic automobiles. The club's early convention was was to be in Springfield next month. Oh, Springfield! And on a beautiful spring evening, the friends met at Ben and Debbie's home for dinner and conversation. They had much to talk about, as all 10 of them planned to attend the out-of-town convention. Excuse me. But Ben had more on his mind than the upcoming convention. He was troubled by something that had happened at the meet last year. Tonight he would share his concern with the group. After dinner, which had been hamburgers charcoaled on the Hamilton outside patio actually, Ben sipped on a Coke and said, "Someone in our group put a dent in my Corvair's door at the meet last year. I know who it was, but I had hoped all of this time that he would come forward to admit it. Also, it's a he." Ben paused, measuring the words carefully, and then continued. "It was on the lower portion of the door and not a serious dent. It was easily repaired, but it kept me out of the competition for best restoration." So it was a lower portion of the door. Okay. Everyone, including Debbie, went silent and looked intently at Ben. Ben owned a 1964 Corvair Monza. One of the first American compact cars. It was air-cooled with its engine in the rear. Ben was a beautiful automobile, which had been restored to pristine condition. It was painted sea green and sported red line tires. It sat low to the ground, which assisted in keeping stabilized for safety. Rolling, the Corvair had a high center of gravity, causing it to tip over and roll when turning swiftly at high speeds, was the main issue with the Corvair, and had been publicized by a well-known consumer advocate, sounding its death knell to the American public. Ben had made certain this issue was addressed with his Monza. Ben surprised the group again by telling them that a week after returning from Springfield last year, he had received an anonymous gift of $250 by a money order and an apology for the dent mishap. He knew the unknown offender felt badly about his mistake, but did not wish to own up to it. Still, he told them, this needed to come to light. We're all friends here, and I wish for us to remain so. I know the person who sent the money order has felt terrible all year. It's time to address this and get behind us. Get it behind us, actually. So, Tommy Flowers, the owner of a beautiful yellow 1968 Ford Mustang coupe with white oversized tires, 302 engine, 4-on-the-floor transmission, and the most emotional of the friends, asked pointedly, I didn't know anyone had dented your car. Who was it? Slowly, Ben answered, I'm not ready to say. I'm going to explain what happened to see if you can figure it out. I would rather you tell me. I do not wish to accuse an old friend unless it is absolutely necessary. So Gary Riggs, the proud owner of a 1959 Chevrolet Impala 4-door with pronounced tail fins, offered, we all remember that you pulled out the judging, but you never explained why. Oh, you pulled out of the judging, actually, yeah. So, Doc McCroy, the owner of a vintage low-slunk 1966 Chevrolet Corvette Stingray with 427 engine, wire wheels, and removable hardtop, wasn't happy either with Ben's words and said, okay, Ben, you began this discussion. Start explaining. So he's like the most defensive one, Doc, so far, and Tommy was like the most emotional one, so I think like if something were to happen, he would just immediately like crack, maybe. So Ben replied, and here is the explanation. And actually I forgot to mention, we're supposed to look for clues here. We're supposed to mark those exact clues that are actually the correct clues, and we're supposed to charge one of the suspects, you know, who are guilty of this. So Ben replied, it was Friday afternoon before the judging on Saturday. I drove over and parked in front of the park's pavilion. I went inside to get a Coke from the snack bar. My cell phone rang and I hung around inside for a while. When I came out, there was a nasty dent in the passenger side door. I would have missed it, but the entrance to the pavilion was to the right of the Corvair. I saw it when it came out of the building. When I came out of the building. And then Mike Benson, the least emotional of the friends and the owner of a red 1967 Mustang coupe with a black vinyl interior, 6-cylinder engine and automatic transmission, asked, did anyone come in or out of the pavilion while you were there? Not that I noticed, but for a short time I was engaged on a business call and I was preoccupied. So you didn't see anyone? That's right. Were there any paint scratches on your door? No, it looked like they had been wiped away. Ben was silent for a moment and then offered, there was some fresh oil in the parking place next to me. I saw tire tracks and there was nothing unusual about them, except that I could notice they were very close to the Corvair. Did you notice anything else? Doc asked. No. So everyone sat in silence for a long awkward moment, and the wife said nothing, knowing this was something the men would have to work out. Debbie silently prayed that her husband knew what he was doing. Gary finally said, okay, we need to figure this out. This is disturbing, but you are too old of a friend to make this accusation lightly. Debbie said, when you went to the pavilion, I went with the Riggs to the grocery store. We picked up some chips and cokes for the snack supper. Debbie managed a weak grin and said, riding in a 1959 Impala is a lot roomier than the Corvair. Tommy looked at Ben, asking, may I ask a couple of questions? I wish you would. Looking at Doc, Tommy asked, where were you that Friday afternoon? I was washing and waxing my vet. Turning to Mike, Tommy asked, what about you? As I recall, you were not at the judging either. Why not? Well, I had a radiator leak. Most of you know that cooling systems were and remain the Achilles heel of 1960 model Ford Mustangs. So wait a minute, did Mike have the Mustang? Let me just check. Yeah, he did have the 1967 Mustang. Okay. I was leaking all the way to Springfield and simply could not get it repaired in time for Saturday. So he was leaking, so I think it is Mike. It incriminates Mike Benson, I believe. And the guilty one is Mike because... So he was leaking, he had a radiator leak. But was that water or was it oil that was actually leaking? I don't know anything about cars. Tommy said, I know who did this. Why don't you admit it now before somebody has to accuse you? And actually we're supposed to mark, for the maximum amount of points, we're supposed to mark the clues that exonerate someone, which basically means that someone is not guilty, or mark the clues that make someone guilty. So I think he was leaking the motor oil. I'm really not sure. Let me just gloss over once again. So the Corvair, I think it was Mike, honestly. Tammy Flowers, for Flowers, which is the most emotional of friends. I'm really not sure, but I do think it's Mike. So it was afternoon though. He was I think it's Mike. Let's just solve the mystery and say that it's Mike. Oh, it's not Mike, guys. So this is your first attempt, and your score here is what will be used in rankings, and your points is displayed on your profile. So what was the correct solution? Actually, read the full solution. So the guilty person never felt lower. Softly he said to Ben, "I know I should have told you. I started to 1,000 times. I just never had the courage. Guess I'm not as tough as I act." Ben looked at his guilty friend and felt pity and compassion. He had known for a long time that he was not as tough or gruff as he let on, but he said to Tommy, "Would you explain how you came to your conclusion?" All I had to do was pay close attention to what we had been talking about. I know it wasn't me, and you knew too when you saw that the tire marks made in the oil puddle were not made by my oversized tires. Oh, okay, but how should we know that? I'm not sure. You realized it wasn't Mike when you learned that he pulled out of the dredging because of a radiator leak, which appeared on the drive to the meet, for you did not mention antifreeze being on the pavement. And I had no doubt that Debbie was with the rigs at the store in the Impala at the exact time you were in the pavilion. So pausing, Tommy continued, "That leaves you, Doc. Your vet is the only sports car in the group and the only one that sits low enough to dent a Corvair on the lower part of the passenger door." Yeah, see, so I wasn't paying attention to that, yeah. So the Mustangs and the Impala sit too high up to be able to do that. When I saw that he was in the corner of the snack bar on the phone and did not notice me, I hurried back out, wiped the scratch mark down, and left. Oh, that's so bad, guys. He should have just owned up to it, but I know that it's very difficult, you know, especially when it's like about such expensive things like these cars. An awkward silence lasted for several long moments before Gary said, "Ben, I don't think we should be holding this against Doc. He has apologized and admitted his mistake. Besides, he sent the money order, yeah." So Ben thought for a moment before saying, "I don't intend to hold a grudge. I've done a few things in my time I'm not too proud of." Looking at Doc and smiling thinly, he added, "I believe now is a good time to have some ice cream." Oh, that's so cute! I mean, we did fail, like, tremendously, and we didn't get anything right. But yeah, I honestly had a lot of fun. I'm definitely wanting to play some more of this game. But for today, that's it, and I would really appreciate it if you subscribe and leave a comment. Yeah, if you want some more of these types of videos, please leave a like. I would really appreciate that. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye!